Promoting public health and environmental protection initiatives is at the heart of Denver Department of Public Health and Environment. Developing knowledgeable, well-trained firefighters to protect those who live in, work in, and visit Denver is what guides the Denver Fire Department. Collectively, the two agencies work towards a sustainable, healthy community. At the Denver Fire Academy, rigorous training simulations and activities are practiced, enhancing response and rescue techniques. Such actions can have an impact on land, air, and water quality. The Denver Fire Academy has implemented several best management practices that not only meet federal, state, and local environmental regulations, but that exceed expectations on creative stewardship methods. This training will review the policies and procedures pertaining to chemical management and disposal, air quality requirements, and initiatives to minimize water runoff pollution to showcase how the Fire Academy turned environmental impacts into environmental success stories. Located at the 5440 Roslyn Street complex in Northeast Denver, the Fire Academy is housed with several other agencies that collectively produce over 200 pounds of hazardous waste monthly, which designates them as a small quantity generator per state of Colorado regulation. Subject to increased oversight and regulatory burden, agencies are pushed to look at their environmental impacts and continuously improve their programs to be better stewards of the environment. To provide authentic fire simulations, fire training facilities historically burned the types of materials found in homes, including plastics, furniture, and chemicals, as well as in realistic vehicle fires, including fuels, tires, and batteries. While this allowed for a real-life scenario training opportunity, it also released significant levels of pollution. If you step back and look at firefighting activities from an environmental perspective, the fire burning is emitting pollution into the air. This pollution often consists of toxic carcinogens, particulates, and smoke that contribute to smog and breathing difficulties. Water used to extinguish a fire picks up these pollutants, and the resulting runoff makes its way into local waterways, impacting aquatic health. At the Denver Fire Academy, structure fires are in a controlled environment with the use of propane to fuel the smoke-filled rooms. Propane burns cleanly and allows for complete control for immediate on-off capabilities.
So this old building we've used for years, we could have put furniture in there and plastics and things to burn. We could get really hot fires and we could show the fire dynamics. The problem is not only is this building aged to where it's becoming dangerous to do, we also realize the hazards to the environment. We don't want to burn those plastics. We don't want to have this much runoff. We don't want everything out into the environment like it is, which is why we've gone to a cleaner, greener process. But this old process, we would load with furniture, wood, straw, and get the fires going. We could get more realistic temperatures and more realistic firefighting action, but what we couldn't get was the clean attitude that we have now, which is where we're trying to go, and the repetitiveness. Now we can light a fire after fire after fire, whereas something like this we could do about 2 or 3 fires a day. I'd say that new process is much safer, not only for us as firefighters and recruits that are going in there that we can shut that fire off at an instant, but it's also safer for the environment. It doesn't create those contaminants. That smoke with the byproducts is not going out into the neighborhoods, and there's less runoff. It's just clean water that's running off because we're simulating putting that fire out, whereas before it would take all these contaminants you see on the floor with it as it would go. The fuel source in that building is all propane, and it runs on the flip of a switch that we can shut it off or turn it off, which is safer for everybody involved. It burns cleaner because really the only smoke that's generated from that fire is smoke that we pump into the building. It's a mechanical smoke.
Over the years, management at Denver Fire has implemented many procedural and policy changes to protect the surrounding environment at the Academy. All environmental policies are documented and available for review at the Denver Fire Academy. By establishing these procedures, any incoming staff or visitors to the Academy will be aware of the established guidelines to protect and preserve our natural environment.
So it's good condition, properly labeled, accessible, closed when not in use, in its designated location, and less than 55 gallons. And it's 95% full.
Additionally, the Academy checks weather patterns and selects days that limit smoke from traveling to nearby neighborhoods. As part of their regulatory requirements, a burn permit is issued before any Class A burn is conducted. Permitted burns of non-toxic materials such as hay and straw are an improvement over historical burning practices of burning synthetic material. The elimination of plastics and synthetics during burning activities greatly reduces the toxins entering the air.
Once a year, we apply for our burn permit, which runs April 1st through the following year. My name is the assistant chief is on it, and what we do is each day that we're going to burn outside, if we're using Class A materials, we call the number on the permit, make sure we're eligible to burn that day, and then we continue on. If we can't, that's why we don't do too much Class A burning, so we don't have to burn that day and we can move it to a different day.
Class A fires are confined to burn pans in order to contain the material and capture the ash, reducing the amount of fuel used. The remaining ash is then transferred to the fire training debris waste drum for proper disposal. Propellants in vehicle or structure fires consists of hay and straw as an accelerant, which limits the toxicity of the smoke entering the atmosphere. Prior to any vehicle burns, Academy staff extract and properly dispose of chemicals such as used oil, fuel, and batteries. This provides for a cleaner burn during the exercise activities. These burns occur on hardscape surfaces, such as concrete, to reduce the potential for runoff and creating contaminated soils.
Okay, so we've used the gas tapper pump. We've got the fuel out of this vehicle. It's in the containment barrel, and it's easier to put this plug in than it is to put the ring around. So the pump has actually made my job a little easier. So I'll go ahead and DC the pump. Sometimes when companies come and extricate, they want the vehicle on its side or on its roof. So I put the gas cap back on as to not get any residual fuel spillage. Okay. This is the contaminated fuels. They're all clearly marked, and we do have a contaminated used oils that we have when we get the oil out of the crankcase, which is just like changing your oil at home. You make sure we put them on the right pallets, because for spillage purposes, it will be contained in the pallet. If we put it on a wood pallet and it spills, it's going to get into the soil. After this process, the last thing I do is spray paint a G with the line through it and an O with the line through it, stating that this has been defueled and de-oiled. And I'll put a reference date on it, today's date, the 23rd, knowing that this car, as of this date, can go on the drill ground and be used for extrication. It's ready to go. As far as the oil from the cars, I captured in the used oil bucket as much out of the crankcase as I can. Pour it into the used oil container. Make sure it's the one that's clearly labeled. And secure.
When the drum reaches 70% full, we contact environmental quality to arrange for a collection.
All right, the last thing I do after the fuel containment, if the car is going to be used for a car fire, I'll take the battery out, place it in the container. If the car is going to be used for extrication purposes, I'll keep the battery in them, because that's part of our training, is to go to the battery, cut the cable, and make sure power's not to the car. And we'll let the companies know that they have to do that when they have repair.
So as you can see, we have a problem with the soil here that we've realized over the years. We got a lot of contaminants down into the ground. We don't like that. We used to put cars on their top or on their side out here, and we get a lot of runoff down into the soil. Once that became a problem, we started doing the process you see today, where we get the fuel and oil out of it. And now we take all our extrication training out to a concrete surface. We do all our extrication on the east side of the burn building, and whereas all our fire training is usually on the west side or contained from the middle to the west. So we keep those two areas separate, and the one area where we don't have any runoff is extrication training. We also can simulate these car fires, but this is all runoff propane. What we'll do is we'll fill this with straw and hay and pallets and things like that. But what we run is propane. You can see the propane line that runs into it. And that way, that's their first experience of car fires. It's safer if we get somebody involved their first time, that we can quickly shut the fire off to it. And it also burns so much cleaner that we don't have those large plumes of smoke like you see from coming from so many cars.
Public safety is the top priority. Balancing safety practices with environmental protections is the ongoing goal for the Denver Fire Academy. The environmental policies and procedures implemented at the Academy are only effective if the men and women working and practicing at the Academy are mindful of their actions. Follow these guidelines to protect the environment. Permitted burns of non-toxic materials such as hay and straw reduce air pollutants. Avoid burning practices that include plastics and other synthetic materials which increase environmental pollution and reduce the quality of our air. Propane burns are safer for firefighting personnel and cleaner and healthier for the environment. Continue seeking out and implementing environmentally preferable methods in your training activities. Ensure extraction of all fluids from vehicles prior to simulated burns. Properly handle, store, and dispose of fuels, oils, batteries, and other chemicals in the labeled and sealed containers provided. Water is a necessary resource in firefighting efforts. Be mindful of where you practice and what you burn to reduce pollutants in water runoff from contaminating nearby soils and local waterways. For more information, refer to the environmental guidelines and policies maintained on site at the Denver Fire Academy. The Denver Fire Academy makes significant modifications in process and procedures with an eye on continuous improvement to reduce their environmental impact while still maintaining top-notch firefighting training and instruction. Together with the Denver Department of Public Health and Environment, Denver Fire protects public health and the environment and all who live in, work in, and visit Denver. For questions, concerns, or assistance with environmental issues at the Denver Fire Academy, call 311.